Na południu Hiszpanii, ponad miastem Granada, wznosi się wzgórze Sabika.
As the Andalusian sun begins its slow descent, painting the Sierra Nevada in hues of violet and rose, the ancient olive groves of Sabika Hill stand in silent vigil. Through their gnarled branches, the city of Granada spreads out below, a tapestry of history and light. These are the same silver-leaved trees that once framed the view for Washington Irving nearly 2 centuries ago. Here, in the quiet of this forgotten garden, he listened to the echoes of the Moors, weaving their whispered legends into the timeless tales that still haunt these stones. As the day ends, the Alhambra glows, the last stronghold of a lost kingdom, ready once again to reveal its secrets to those who walk the path of the romantic traveler.
The story of the Crimson Fortress. The name itself is a clue. Alhambra, in Arabic, it means simply the Red One. But if you look closely at these walls under the midday sun, they often appear dusty, pale, or even golden. The true story of the red walls reveals itself only when the light begins to fail. Legend tells us that the Sultan's builders worked through the night to complete these massive fortifications. By the flickering orange light of thousands of torches, the high iron content in the local Sabika clay began to glow with a deep, blood-red intensity. The soldiers and townspeople looking up from the city below saw a fortress that seemed to be forged in fire, and thus, the name was born. This red earth is the very soul of the complex. It was dug from the ground right beneath our feet, mixed with stone and lime to create tapia, a rammed earth so strong it has withstood 7 centuries of sieges and earthquakes. When you see the sun setting over Granada and the walls begin to blush into that famous crimson, you are seeing more than just a trick of the light. You are seeing the earth of Andalusia itself, raised up into the sky to protect the last kings of a dying empire. These walls don't just surround the palace. They are the living skin of history, stained red by the soil, the sun, and the fire of the men who built them.
High above the rolling hills of Andalusia, the Alhambra stands as a monument to a vanished world. It began in the 13th century, not just as a palace, but as a Medina, a fortified city of light and water built by the Nasrid dynasty. As the rest of the Iberian Peninsula fell to the Reconquista, this red fortress became the final flowering of Islamic culture in Europe. For 250 years, it was a sanctuary of poets, scientists, and kings. But history shifted on a winter's day in 1492. Muhammad XII, known to history as Boabdil, surrendered the keys of the city to the Catholic monarchs Isabella and Ferdinand. Legend says he wept as he looked back one last time, marking the end of 7 centuries of Moorish rule. The Alhambra did not disappear, it transformed. It became a Renaissance court for Emperor Charles V, who raised his own stone palace amidst the delicate stucco of the Moors. Yet, as the centuries passed, the site fell into neglect, inhabited only by smugglers and travelers. It was the Romantic era that rediscovered its soul. Writers like Washington Irving brought the world back to its gates, turning a crumbling ruin into a global icon of beauty and longing. Today, the Alhambra remains a bridge between civilizations, a place where the red earth of Spain holds the whispered prayers of a lost empire, carved forever into stone. Standing at the threshold of the Renaissance, the Pillar of Charles V is a monumental testament to a new era in the Alhambra's long history. Commissioned in the mid-16th century by the Count of Tendilla, this three-tiered fountain was designed to honor the Holy Roman Emperor, carving his imperial presence into the very stone of the Sabica Hill. As the clear waters of the Sierra Nevada flow through its basins, they pass beneath the watchful eyes of three carved masks, representing the rivers of Granada, the Dara, the Genil, and the Beira. Above them, the imperial shields and mythological reliefs of Hercules speak of power, triumph, and the arrival of a Christian dynasty in the heart of the Nasra kingdom. It is a masterpiece of Mannerist design, where the heavy, rustic stones of the base contrast with the refined elegance of the upper tiers. Here, the exuberant spirit of the Spanish Renaissance meets the ancient traditions of the hill. The pillar stands not just as a source of water, but as a gateway of stone, a bridge between the delicate poetry of the Moorish palaces and the stoic grandeur of the emperor's dream.
Zaraz po odbiciu Grenady z rąk Maurów, pałace Nasrydów zaczęto nazywać Starą Rezydencją Królewską. Na kompleks składa się Meksuar,
Before we enter the private world of the Sultan, we must pass through the Mexwar. Derived from the Arabic word maswar, this was the public face of the Alhambra. It was here that the Sultan sat behind a gilded screen to hear the petitions of his people and where the Council of Ministers debated the laws of the kingdom. But in the Alhambra, the Mexwar was the council chamber, the place where the Sultan met with his ministers, the Shura, and where justice was administered. The Mexwar has undergone many transformations over the centuries. It was even converted into a chapel after the Christian conquest. If you look closely at the walls, you'll see a beautiful struggle between eras. Islamic geometric tile work sitting side by side with Renaissance motifs and the double-headed eagle of Charles V. The Mexwar reminds us that the Alhambra wasn't just a dream palace, it was the functional headquarters of a government. Above the door, an inscription reads, "Enter and ask. Do not fear to ask for justice, for you will find it here." It is a room that balanced the heavy weight of the law with the delicate beauty of Nasra art.
والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله.
Passing through the threshold of the Mexwar, we enter the most sacred and ceremonial heart of the Nasra palaces, the Commerce complex. Our journey begins in the Golden Room, or the Patio del Cuarto Dorado. Here, the architecture functions as a grand stage for the Sultan's justice. The facade is a masterpiece of symmetry and mathematical precision, where every carved arch and tile reflects the divine order. It was here that the ruler met his subjects, beneath a gilded wooden ceiling that gave the room its name, a space designed to dazzle the visitor before they were granted entry into the private world of the king. As we move deeper, we find ourselves in the Sala de la Barca, the Hall of the Boat. Named for its incredible inverted hull-shaped ceiling, this elongated gallery served as the antechamber to the Great Hall of the Ambassadors. This was a place of preparation and transition. The walls are draped in exquisite stucco lace, repeating the words blessing and glory, creating a rhythmic visual prayer that envelops the traveler. The Sala de la Barca was the final layer of protection and prestige. Its narrow, elegant proportions draw the eye forward, toward the massive Tower of Commerce that looms ahead. In this space, the heavy, defensive stone of the exterior vanishes, replaced by a delicate architecture of light and shadow. Here, the Sultan prepared to receive his guests, surrounded by the finest craftsmanship the kingdom could offer. A silent, stony witness to the height of Moorish power in Granada.
Wkraczamy do najpotężniejszego i najbardziej uroczystego wnętrza Alhambry, Salonu de los Embajadores. Znajduje się on w sercu wieży Komary, najwyższej budowli całego kompleksu. To tutaj
Step into the Hall of the Ambassadors, the grandest room in the palace. This was the center of power, where the Sultan received foreign dignitaries. Look up at the ceiling. It is a masterpiece of joinery, composed of over 8,000 cedar wood pieces. It represents the seven heavens of Islamic cosmos, with the central throne positioned beneath the light of the divine. Every inch of these walls, covered in intricate poems and prayers carved in stucco, reminds us that there is no conqueror but God.
samym sercu pałacu Nasrydów w Granadzie znajduje się miejsce, gdzie kamień, woda i światło osiągają stan absolutnej, wiecznej równowagi.
We stand now in the spiritual and architectural heart of the Nasra palaces, the Patio de los Leones. Completed in the late 14th century under the reign of Sultan Muhammad V, this courtyard represents the absolute zenith of Moorish art in Spain. It is a space where the heavy stone of a fortress vanishes, replaced by a forest of 124 slender marble columns, supporting arches so delicate they appear to be woven from lace rather than carved from plaster. The layout is a masterclass in the Shahar Bagh, the four-fold garden. 4 narrow channels of water cut through the marble floor, representing the 4 rivers of paradise: water, milk, wine, and honey. These paths of light and liquid converge at the center, drawing the eye toward the most famous monument in the Alhambra, the Fountain of the Lions. This basin is a mystery in stone. 12 lions, carved from white Mikael marble, stand in a circle, supporting a great dodecagonal basin on their backs. Though they appear identical, each lion possesses unique features, different manes, expressions, and postures. They are symbols of power and courage, but also of the 12 signs of the zodiac or the tribes of Israel, reflecting the diverse cultural influences of medieval Granada. The fountain was once a mechanical marvel, a sophisticated water clock. Every hour, a different lion would spout water from its mouth, marking the passage of time with the rhythmic pulse of the Sierra Nevadas snowmelt. Around the rim of the basin, a poem is carved into the marble, inviting the viewer to look at the water and look at the basin, and you will not know which of the two is flowing. In this patio, the architecture does not merely enclose space, it creates a living, breathing oasis. The interplay of the vertical columns and the horizontal water channels creates a perfect mathematical harmony. It is a place of absolute silence and constant movement, where the rustle of the wind and the whisper of the fountain have remained unchanged for over 600 years, a timeless echo of a sultan's vision of heaven on earth. Across the Court of the Lions lies the Sala de los Abencerrajes, a chamber where breathtaking beauty is forever entwined with a dark and tragic legend. It is named for a noble knightly family who, according to tradition, were lured here and executed, their blood said to leave the reddish stains still visible on the central marble fountain. But as you look upward, the tragedy fades into celestial wonder. The ceiling is a masterpiece of mukarnesas, a honeycomb dome composed of 5,000 individual cells of stucco. Arranged in an 8-pointed star, it creates a 3-dimensional galaxy that captures and scatters the sunlight in a rhythmic play of shadow and gold. This was the Sultan's winter bedroom, a space designed to reflect the mathematical perfection of the heavens. Here, in the silence of the star-shaped vault, the heavy stone of the fortress seems to dissolve into a weightless, divine geometry. Directly opposite the Hall of the Abencerrajes sits the Sala de las Dos Hermanas, the Hall of the Two Sisters. It takes its name from the two identical, massive slabs of white Mikhail marble that form part of its floor, but its true purpose was far more intimate. This room served as the central hub of the Sultan's private residential quarters, a place where the royal family could find seclusion and luxury. The crowning glory of this room is its spectacular Mukarnas dome, widely considered the finest example of its kind in existence. Unlike a traditional solid dome, this ceiling is a complex mathematical explosion of over 5,000 individual cells, meticulously carved to resemble a honeycomb or a cluster of stalactites. The geometry is breathtaking. It begins as a central star and radiates outward, creating a dizzying, 3-dimensional landscape of plaster. When the light filters in through the high lateral windows, the ceiling appears to shift and breathe, casting soft shadows that make the heavy stone structure feel as light as air. It is an architectural representation of the celestial sphere, designed to leave the viewer looking upward in a state of quiet, meditative wonder. As we leave the enclosed chambers of the palaces behind, we emerge into the Pardo, the oldest residential area of the Alhambra and a place where the boundary between architecture and nature completely dissolves. This is a space of light, air, and reflections, dominated by the majestic Torre de las Damas, or the latest tower. The Pardo was once a sprawling neighborhood of aristocratic villas, but today, it stands as a poetic park of terraced gardens and silent ruins. The focal point is the grand portico of the tower, with its 5 elegant arches reflected perfectly in the mirror-like surface of a vast rectangular pool. This is one of the most iconic images of the Alhambra, where the weight of the stone seems to disappear into the water, creating a twin palace of liquid and light. Historically, this was the site of the first royal residence on the Sabika Hill, predating the more famous palaces of Comers and the Lions. It was a place for the elite of the court to enjoy the cooling breezes and the panoramic views of the Albaicín district across the valley. The architecture here is more open, more connected to the landscape, designed to frame the beauty of Granada like a living painting. Look closely at the portico's interior, and you will find some of the most delicate original wall paintings remaining in the complex, depicting scenes of hunting and courtly life. Above the pool, the gardens rise in tiers, filled with cypress trees, flowering shrubs, and the constant, gentle murmur of running water. In the Pardo, you truly feel the Sultan's vision of a paradise on earth. It is a place of transition, where the rigid security of the fortress yields to the serenity of the garden. As the sun moves across the sky, the reflections in the pool shift and dance, reminding us that in the Alhambra, water is not just a resource, it is the ultimate architect of peace and beauty.
Zostawiamy za sobą potężne mury i oficjalne sale Alhambry, aby udać się na sąsiednie wzgórze Słońca. Przed nami Generalife. Nazwa ta...
High above the main palace complex lies the Generalife, the Garden of the Architect. This was a place of recreation and escape for the kings of Granada. The Patio de la Sequa, with its long pool and crossing water jets, remains one of the most romantic spots in the world. It is a masterclass in how architecture can frame nature, turning every window and archway into a living painting of the valley below. Gardens of the Alhambra, a gateway to paradise. For the builders of the Alhambra, a garden was not merely an addition to the architecture, it was its very heart. In Islamic culture, a garden is an earthly reflection of paradise, described as a place filled with shade and flowing water. Wandering through these gardens, we step into a world where the harsh geometry of stone walls fades away, giving way to the softness of greenery and the scent of jasmine. It is here that the Andalusian soul found peace, blending mathematical precision with the wildness of nature. Water is the most important artist here. Can you hear its whisper? It's no coincidence. Every channel, fountain, and cascade was designed to soothe the senses and drown out the noise of the outside world. In the gardens of the Generalife in Pardo, water flows directly from the snow-capped peaks of the Sierra Nevada. It is accompanied by a riot of colors, from the intense red of oleanders to the deep green of ancient cypresses. It is a sensory experience that has remained unchanged for 7 centuries.
Pałac Karola V to najbardziej zaskakujący budynek w całej Alhambrze. Stanowi on potężny, renesansowy kontrast.
In the very heart of the Moorish Alhambra rises a monument of a completely different scale and character. The palace of Charles V, when the powerful Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain decided to build his residence here in the 16th century, he wanted to show the world the triumph of the Renaissance. This austere, stone edifice is a manifesto of power, a building that does not seek harmony with nature but imposes its will upon it. The real surprise, however, lies within. The rugged, square building hides a perfectly circular courtyard, the only one of its kind in Spanish Renaissance architecture. 2 levels of columns, Doric on the bottom and Ionic on top, create a space of incredible acoustics and symmetry. This combination of the square and the circle was meant to symbolize perfection and the divine order of the universe, of which Charles V felt himself to be the guardian.
Artistically, this building is a shock to the system. While the Nasra palaces are built with wood, plaster, and ceramics, Charles V built with heavy stone. Its architect, Pedro Machuca, had studied under Michelangelo in Italy. The design is a masterpiece of the High Renaissance, a perfect circular courtyard inside a perfect square. If the Nasra palaces are a veiled beauty, this is a shouting beauty, bold, symmetrical, and imposing. Construction started in 1527, but because of various wars and lack of funds, it was never actually finished. It famously remained roofless for centuries until it was finally completed in the 20th century. It was a political statement. By placing a Roman-style palace inside a Muslim citadel, Charles V was physically cementing the triumph of Christianity and the permanence of the Spanish Empire. Despite its grandeur, Charles V never actually lived here. He spent his life traveling across his vast empire, leaving this giant stone shell as a silent witness to his ambition.
I was constantly searching for a moment of reflection and silence, a chance to truly immerse myself in the beauty of the Alhambra, but it proved to be very difficult. Crowds of tourists. To get into the Alhambra, you have to make a reservation several months in advance.
Big tower entrance.